everyone thinks, again, when they become a trader, that they're gonna have this bam, this huge epiphany, and they're gonna think, oh, okay, I'm a trader now. The reality is, it's a million little things that'll make you a better trader. And this has been kind of fun for me because each week I'm like, there's another one of those little things that I need to be cognizant of, or I need to do, or I'm not doing, whatever the case may be. Now, I kind of touched upon this last week, and I want to expand upon it this week. So, what's the worst thing that can happen early in your trading career? Now, don't answer the question, just think about that. Again, I touched upon this last week, and I want to carry that conversation forward. A few days ago, my wife was telling me about this girl she knows, and they were having lunch, and dogs came up because we just bought a new dog, or we just got a new dog. However you want to look at that. Costs a lot of money. Hadn't made that money up yet, believe me. But anyway, they were talking about dogs, and she said, well, I got this dog a while back, and I started training it, and turns out I am really good at dog training. She was so good at it, she thought about becoming a dog trainer, or maybe kind of fantasized about it a little bit because she was so good at it. So her name is Caitlin, and she's a natural when it comes to dog training. So I want to show you a video here real quick. And she got a dog named Loki, and then she got another dog named Bobo. So I want you to pay careful attention to this video, and I just want you to watch Bobo, and hopefully the sound will come through. So let me play this. This is Bobo right here. This black and white, looks like one of those Australian type of dogs, right? Shepherd dog. All right, here we go.
Spin, spin.
So keep an eye on Bobo.
Bobo, sit, spin, spin.
Okay, so that's Bobo. Now, Loki was the original dog I was talking about a few seconds ago. So in this video, while she's training Bobo, I want you to pay attention to Loki.
Spin, spin. Bobo, sit, spin, spin.
So her first venture into dog training, she trained Loki. That was her first dog. And again, turns out she's really, really good at it. But she was very humbled when Bobo came along. So this is kind of a metaphor for trading. And I've seen a lot of people have this early success problem. So what's the worst thing that can happen early in your trading career? Well, my answer to that would be success, okay? Because you think it's easy and it's not. Now, number 715,033, your initial or current success or failure is not a predictor of future success or failure. In upcoming shows, there's a lot of, I'm trying to think of some of the people that have talked a lot. I think Eckhart has a lot of good quotes when it comes to this. And so I'll kind of fill in some of the pieces on some of these MLTs as we go along. But it's very true that if you're struggling, and I'm actually working on a piece on this, I've been working on a lot of stuff for a book I've been working on for years, but I call it's kind of like in my best Jocko voice. If you're struggling, good. It's like good if you're struggling, because you can work with that. If you think it's easy, then you have trouble, and you likely will have trouble. You won't know what hits you. Years ago, I had a friend named Jimmy. Had being a keyword in that sentence. He's no longer with us. And Jimmy was quite the character. And often when I speak in person, I tell Jimmy stories. And one of the Jimmy stories is he turned roughly $5,000, which I would later find was of questionable origin. I don't know for sure, but there's something fishy going on. He turned that into roughly about $1 million. And it was just the most amazing thing I ever saw. And he did it with options, and it was Micron, I believe. He was bullish on the chip manufacturers. He was bullish on memory chips. There was a shortage. He was in the industry. And so I guess kind of like a little bit of a Peter Lynch approach on that he took. And then he ended up just trading these options like crazy. And unfortunately, you kind of know where the story goes. He round tripped it. And when he was approaching right around $1 million, I told him, I was like, look, and this was back late 80s, I guess, early 90s maybe. And $1 million was still $1 million back then. And I told him, I said, look, if you're that good and not just a one-trick pony, I didn't say that one-trick pony, but that's what I was thinking in my mind. I was a little jealous, and I played a little micro. I played a little bit too. So his first, here I go to digress. His first trade, I remember he called me up. He says, if I want a stock to go up, do I buy a call or a put? I'm like, call. Sorry. He's all right. He hung up the phone. He goes, I got my broker on the other line. He wants to know if we are to open this position or close this position. I said, you want to open if you're buying a long option. But anyway, so I told him, I said, he's approaching $1 million. And I said, look, if you're that good, why don't you take out $900,000? Because his whole plan was when he hit 5 million, he was going to retire and live on a sailboat. That's what he was going to do. And while he was right around 1 million, I said, look, why don't you do this? Why don't you take $900,000 and put it into some kind of annuity that would pay you interest for the rest of your life? And back then, if memory served, interest rates were kind of high. And I seemed to do the math in my head, and I think he could have easily made 50 or 60 grand just on 900K. And that's, I don't know what he was making at the time, but back then that was still 50 or 60 grand. That was enough money, at least for him to live on, judging by the way he was living. Anyway, he says, I'm not going to take financial advice from you. And I guess he saw my struggles as a trader, as we all kind of struggle here and there. And it's like, well, it's not really financial advice. It's more like, don't be stupid advice. And I touched upon that last week. A lot of people had made all this money in a dot-com bubble, and then it blew up on them. Another quick story. There was a couple of years ago, in probably was 1999. In fact, I know it was 99, when everything was just going straight up. And there's a few of you guys here old enough to remember that. And it was great. You couldn't wait to wake up to see how much money you made overnight. And this couple they were realtors, and they quit their very successful realtor business because they were making so much money in stocks, and they were kind of like, why bother with this real estate crap, you know? And that's a shame. It's not like a business they could just sell, because it's something that my understanding is that if you're a realtor, you build your business over time. So I hated, and I never heard back from them. So I'm assuming that it ended badly in their case. And there's been many cases of throughout the years. One other one, just real quick, was I had a client that was following this arcane wave counting methodology. I think we know what that is. And I want to say it was 2008. And the trading service, we just would short and short and short and short. And that's all we had was shorts and shorts. And we started shorting in 2007 because that's all I could find was shorts for my people. And I actually apologized to him. Anyway, he made so much money because he was dogpiling on the short side with all this stuff. And his methodology was saying that we're going to have these waves down, and the waves were with the trend, okay? Well, when and I don't know exactly how much money he had at the time, but I know it was enough. I said, do you have a mortgage? He goes, well, I have a condo, but I have a mortgage on it. Yeah. I said, why don't you do this? Why don't you pay off your condo so you have a place to live? And if this super cycle or whatever you're talking about, or your arcane methodology is going to keep on keeping on, then just keep trading, and then you'll make a bunch of money. And worst case scenario, you still have a place to live. Well, I hadn't heard back from him either, so I'm assuming that it also ended badly. So your initial or prior success or failure in trading is not a predictor of your future success. In fact, success can be kind of a dangerous thing, and this is where even if you've been trading for a while, when you hit it just right, the music stops playing. You find yourself thinking, what is it, the 5 most dangerous words on Wall Street? But it was working so well. It's 6 words, I think. But anyway, you get the idea. I spoke in San Francisco not too long ago. The great thing about being in person there's two things that happens. One, when you go to a conference, you pick up a few gems here and there. It's not like you're just like blown away and amazed with everything, but you pick up a few gems from each person. You always get something good out of Linda, obviously, and there was a lot of other guys and girls there that you know picked up a little bit here and there. But one of the big advantages, in addition to those gems, is that you get to talk trading with a lot of people. And if you nerd like me, that's pretty exciting. And I think it was David Keller, and there was like some newbies in there, like, what's the best advice you give a newbie? And I want to say it was David Keller, and he said, blow up as quickly as possible. And that really stuck with me. And I just thought that's a great thing to say. Not that you want to rush out and blow up, but if you blow up early on in your career, you're just like, okay, well, this is a little tougher than I thought. Let me dust myself off. I'm glad I didn't have everything I owned in this trading account like I would have if I would have been successful and just plowed it all in. So number 817,239, blow up as quickly as possible.